The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website at agingpartners@lincoln.ne.gov.
Welcome to Live and Learn and to my full circle moment. I'm Kristen Stowes, and today I welcome back Marilyn Moore, a true community leader in every sense of the word. She was one of my very first interviews in 2012. Stay tuned to catch up on Marilyn's last 10 years.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachia. Hey, my guest today is Dr. Mattel Naida, and she is the co-director of the Brain Lab at the University of Nebraska, and we're going to be talking about brain health through the lifespan.
Hello, I'm Barb Tyler, and it's my pleasure today to talk to Danette Smith, the CEO of the Department of Health and Human Services, about a new initiative called I Serve Nebraska.
Each year, the Nebraska Passport Program features destinations throughout the state to help you find those hidden gems. You can also earn rewards and prizes for visiting those places. Stay tuned to learn how you can participate in the Nebraska Passport Program.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
It is my pleasure to welcome Marilyn Moore back to Live and Learn. I'm Kristen Stowes, and I'd like to start by congratulating Marilyn on being the recipient of the Roger T. Larson Community Builder Award for 2021. Congratulations and welcome back, Marilyn.
Thanks, Kristen. It's an honor to be here, and I'm so glad to see you again.
It's wonderful seeing you as well. When we spoke a short 10 years ago, you had just retired your position as Associate Superintendent for Instruction at Lincoln Public Schools, and you were looking forward to starting a new career position as President of the Bryan College of Health Sciences. So that influences my first question. How does the art of teaching change when you move from young learners to college-age students, or does it change?
Well, that's a great reflective question, Kristen, and I'm glad to have a chance to talk about it. First of all, I must say it was a huge honor to be asked to serve as the president of Bryan College of Health Sciences. And for 4 years in that role, I just immersed myself in higher ed and in that institution. And one of the things I realized as I visited classes while I was at Bryan is that when I saw really good teaching happening at higher ed, just as when I saw really good teaching happening in K-12, there were a lot of things in common. We have a teacher who's passionate about what they're teaching, who's really clear about what it is that students should learn, who figures out engaging ways to help students learn that, and most importantly, holds in high regard the learners that are in that classroom and works to develop a relationship with every learner, because whether it's a kindergartner or a middle school student or a college student, students learn best when they have a positive relationship with their teacher. So in those ways, they were very, very similar. Obviously, students in higher ed are working at probably a higher cognitive capacity than our earliest learners, although I think sometimes we underestimate just how much cognitive capacity it takes to learn to read. In fact, that may be the biggest challenge we all ever face. So there are differences in the content, and there are differences in assessment practices and so forth. But at the heart of it is a relationship between a teacher and a learner, and engaging ways to help students learn. And that doesn't change with the age of the learner at all. It was really wonderful to see that.
Yes, I can understand all of that. It makes a lot of sense. So now we have experienced a pandemic. That certainly was not on our radar 10 years ago. What have we all learned with its effects on education? And do you see any positives coming out of this experience?
Well, I think one thing that we've all learned is the absolutely essential role of schools in a community, because that's where students spend their days. And when we went through months where students were spending their days at home, even if they were in remote learning, it upset just about every system in the community. It changed parents' work schedules. It changed how students learned. It changed how teachers taught, because parents' work schedules were disrupted. It changed employment practices. It changed economic systems. So the importance of schools as the institution in our country that really cares for students all day, every day, is more apparent than it's ever been. We've also learned that for the large majority of students, they truly learn better in a classroom with a teacher than they do at home with a computer. And I think those of us in education have always suspected that that would be true, but now we have assessment data that would show that that is clearly true, that students who were in class learned and retained more in the essential measures of reading and math than students who learned at home remotely most of the time. I do think that there are a handful of students for whom remote learning might be the best option for a variety of reasons. And one of the things that we've learned is how to do that better. So we know the importance of technology, we know the importance of broadband access for students, and we know that there's something more to online learning than just turning a camera on a teacher and a student, that there are some other things that support that. And that's probably a positive outcome, because there will always be some circumstances where for some reason it's better for a student to have that option. And now we know some things about the option. But I think affirming that generally students learn better when they're in a classroom with a teacher is intuitively responded to by teachers and students, and now we have some measurement to show that that's true also.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have learned a lot about many things, but education mostly. Yes, yes. Well, you told me that you do not have a third career in mind. I know that you focus your energies on community involvement.
Mm.
First of all, by service on community boards of Lincoln, which Lincoln is all the better for, Maryland. Let's highlight one, being the food bank and what it means to Lincoln.
Well, the food bank has a long history in the city of Lincoln, and has served literally millions of meals to hungry people every year. During this past 2 years, during the pandemic, that need has become more apparent, and the response of the food bank has just accelerated. So, before the pandemic, we might have served 8 to 9 million meals a year. During the pandemic, we've been at 11 and 12 million meals a year. And that's in the community of Lincoln, and then in a 16 county area in Southeast Nebraska. So as in so many parts of our community, the pandemic simply accentuated and made more visible human services that are needed by so many people in so many ways. One of the efforts undertaken by the food bank in this past year and a half has been to construct a new building, which simply serves as the infrastructure for serving 13 million meals a year. We don't build a building for any reason other than to do a better job of meeting the needs of our hungry neighbors. So that new building is under construction right now. I think you showed a photo a few minutes ago that shows a group of us at a groundbreaking ceremony earlier this spring. There we all are. If you look closely, you'll see that we're shoveling there, not with the typical spades, but with large spoons. Because
you have spoons. I love that picture.
That's great. So it's a group of volunteers and a major donor that's included in that group, and a group of staff members from the food bank, and I'm standing at the end. And we were glad to turn dirt and get that building underway. And I would report right now that new building will open probably sometime between March and May, just depending on labor supply and building supplies, because that's a factor in construction everywhere. And this community has generously contributed a little more than $10 million to build that new facility, which I think is it's evidence of a community that understands that food is one of those basics that people can't do much else if they're not able to sustain themselves with nutritious food. And this community has also been incredibly generous in response. So it's been an honor to work on that campaign and to see it draw to a very successful conclusion.
And to have all that happen during a pandemic, I think is phenomenal.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. Speaks volumes for our community.
It really does.
Another focus then that you have is the Community Health Endowment Board.
Yes.
And you told me you learned a lot being on this board.
I have learned a lot about this community and about public health. The Community Health Endowment was established now, I think, 22 years ago when the city sold Lincoln General Hospital, which had been owned by the city, to Bryan Memorial Hospital. And the resulting institution is Bryan Health, with two comprehensive hospitals in the city, Bryan East and Bryan West. The sale from that, the proceeds from that sale were invested into an endowment to be used to further health in the community of Lincoln. And the Community Endowment Board is a group of citizens in Lincoln who get to oversee the investment of that fund, and then also the disbursement of grants to support public health. And I've learned a lot from that. I've learned about the kinds of things that we might think of in terms of public health, as like right now pretty visible is vaccination for citizens in Lincoln and Lancaster County against COVID, but also the public health things that relate to food and nutrition. Community Health Endowment supported the Lincoln Fresh truck that the food bank uses to deliver food to neighborhoods around the city. Supports mental health issues. And I think of everything that I've learned is that underlying so many issues in our community is a strand of mental health, and the provision of mental health services in a way that's easy to access and in a way that's non-judgmental and doesn't criticize people for needing mental health services is a really important aspect of our community that I think is known but not talked about very much. So I'm glad to know more about that. And
yes.
then just general
Lincoln is a very fortunate community for
absolutely
its medical care.
The general access to medical care. If you're working in a job that provides good health insurance, it's pretty easy to access medical care. If that's not your case, then it's harder to access ongoing preventive care, which prevents so many other bad things from happening later on. Right. So just many windows into the health of the community.
Okay, Marilyn, I know that you are also an adventuresome traveler. In brief, what would be your favorite trip? And I believe we have a picture of a very friendly looking polar bear. I don't know if you really got that close, but tell us about that trip.
Well, this was a wonderful opportunity, and it was the last trip that I took outside of this country before we stopped doing international travel. I've been to most continents since I retired, and have seen the wonders of this world in so many ways. This polar bear is on the shore of Hudson Bay in northern Manitoba. It is waiting for the ice to freeze over on the bay so it can go back on the bay from where it will live for the next several months. And it can fish for seal there, which is the primary nutrition for polar bears. And we were on the shore of Hudson Bay 2 years ago in November. And actually, while we were there, the bay near the edge froze over. And so the bears all left the land and they fled to the lake, to the bay where they will live until the ice melts sometime next spring. And the reason I really love this trip is that there just were two profound learnings from it. One is the high regard in which the natural world is held by the people that live in that area, and their understanding of the impact of climate change on their community and all of the animals that live there, and frankly, everybody that lives there.
Yes.
Profound and well known. And the other is that the people in that area hold the indigenous population in such high regard. And those two issues, I think, are much bigger than the Hudson Bay, that all of us are affected by climate change. And I think there is an increasingly strong awareness of the indigenous population on every continent in this world, and including right here in Nebraska. And some of the ways that those people have been horribly mistreated, and our obligation to restore health and prosperity to people that have been exploited. So I love that.
Marilyn, that's wonderful. And I know you have other thoughts in mind for more travel. We really only have about a minute left. I do want to put a picture of Moore Middle School up, and congratulations on having a school named after you. I think that's fabulous.
It is wonderful to walk into that building. Not because it has my name on it, although of course I'm just incredibly honored that is true, But what's wonderful is that the teachers and the leaders and the other staff members and the students themselves have created a wonderful learning community. And when that kind of a community exists, you know that it's a really good place for students to learn, and it's a really good place for teachers to teach. And that just makes this educator's heart really happy.
Yes, yes. Well, we really need to wrap up. I know you're involved in a podcast as well that you will get back to. We don't have a lot of time to talk about it right now, but I think it's fabulous. You're involved in so many different areas.
Thank you, Kristen.
I asked you a question 10 years ago about your wishes for education, and that prompted our discussion of the importance of early learning starting well before children ever walk into a school building. I'm sure you still agree with that, but if you were holding that magic wand now, would you have one wish you might want to add?
I would lead with the importance of early childhood experiences, and I would add to that especially in this day where it seems that there are so many divisions on so many issues, I would wish that we as adults could model for students how it is that we can conduct civil discourse and reach some kind of agreement on the really tough issues that face us. I think that's our responsibility as citizens, and it's our responsibility to the next generation.
Oh, so well said. Children are watching.
They are.
Yes, yes. Dr. Marilyn Moore, thank you so much for being with us again today. I cannot wait to see what you accomplish in the next 10 years.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thanks for being here. And my thanks to all of our viewers for continuing to live and learn right alongside of me for the last 10 years. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones with Aging Partners. Did you know that Lincoln expects a 75% increase in the number of seniors living in our community over the next 15 years? Aging Partners is a community service that provides fitness programs to help keep older adults strong and healthy. This year, Lincoln Cares donations are providing funds for new fitness equipment. You can help make this happen. Sign up to support Lincoln Cares and add $1 to your LES bill each month.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachia. As you can tell, we're still doing Zoom, and we thank our friends at LNK-TV and Aging Partners for allowing us to produce these segments and still follow pandemic protocols and be safe. So thank you very much to everybody who's stayed with us for the last couple of years. It's been a wild ride. Anyway, did y'all know that there is, in addition to football played at the Memorial Stadium, there's also a significant world-class research laboratory. It's called the Center for Brain Biology and Behavior. And my guest today is Dr. Mittal Neda, and she is the co-director of that center, as well as director of her own lab called the Cognitive and Affective Neuroscience Lab in the center that they call the CB3 at the University of Nebraska. So welcome, Dr. Neda.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks. So tell me a little bit about the CB3, and then we'll talk a little bit about your lab, because I think most people don't even know that that place exists.
Yeah, we're tucked in the southeast corner there. So CB3 is a really unique place in a number of ways. First, we're a really multidisciplinary center that brings together faculty from many different departments and colleges across campus, including psychology, like myself, also political science, computer science and engineering, even special education and communication disorders. And we're also really unique in that we have a really strong collaborative relationship with athletics. So we can kind of help to provide some important clinical information about the student athletes on a much faster timeline than they would have if we weren't present there right in the stadium with them. And as part of this, we're doing some research to try to better understand sports-related concussion. And my lab also does a lot of research exploring kind of the neurobiological factors that shape our social and emotional lives. And that's work we're doing across the lifespan to really understand how our emotions change and develop with age.
So I know that you use something called a fMRI in your lab, which apparently these giant machines exist at the stadium, which is amazing to me. So let's talk about that and kind of how you use that and what you're looking for using that machine.
Yeah, so we use an MRI scanner to examine brain activity while people are performing a range of different tasks, and also just while they're lying there at rest. And the overarching goal is to try to understand how your brain activity and even your brain organization more broadly relates to your day-to-day functioning. So we can look at, how people respond to uncertainty, whether they tend to interpret something that's ambiguous as having a more positive or a more negative meaning. Now, in broad strokes, we're really looking at the brains of people ages 6 to 90 years old to see how it is that their brain kind of helps them to deal with uncertainty. And we do that by showing them a range of different types of ambiguous images and ask them how they feel about those things and look at what their brain is doing while they're kind of processing all of that. So we bring people in and we use the MRI scanner to see, how different parts of the brain are communicating with one another and, how that kind of organization of your brain helps you to kind of cope with situations that are uncertain.
Okay. I know that we have a video that the University Communications team did that talks about this. And I guess we're going to roll that now. So we'll have our friends at LNK TV pop that video up, and it'll last about a minute.
Are these facial expressions positive or negative? Psychology professor Maytal Neta says the answer depends on our brains.
People that tend to have a really chronic negativity, people that tend to always see these things as negative, also seem to be more depressed or anxious or both. We're really curious, what makes somebody more negative versus another person more positive in response to the exact same information?
Volunteers are shown several facial expressions while their brains are scanned in an MRI machine. The results may show what's happening inside the brain while we make judgments.
So basically, MRI is just one of the ways we can get at what's going on under the surface.
Neta's interest in how the brain works began as an aspiring teenage artist.
What I loved about art is that it speaks to people. You have an emotional response to art, but not everybody has the same emotional response. Some people really like Dali and other people, like Pollock. And so what is that? Where does that individual difference come from? And so that led me to, well, it's somewhere in the brain, right? Something in my brain is making me think this is important. And so neuroscience is where I went with that.
Neta's research also looks at the changes in our brains that make us less negative as we get older.
In older adults, people are more positive. And actually, with increasing age, there's this nice linear effect where people become more and more positive. And we thought, well, what are they doing that's so special, right? How do they have it figured out? And so if we can really get a handle on that, then maybe we can help people that are suffering from that chronic negativity.
All right. I thought that was really interesting. When people are in that scanner thing, do those images go that quickly and pop up that quickly for them?
Yeah, they do. We like to show them a bunch of different images at once and just kind of see what's happening while people are just passively viewing those things.
Wow. And you talk about how as people age, they tend to become more positive, which sort of cracks me up because you always think about the crotchety, cognitively crazy old guy. But
yeah,
apparently that's sort of a myth, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and it's actually kind of counterintuitive on both ends of the lifespan, because we actually have some data to show that children are actually more negative, which you kind of think of kids as being this kind of innocent and like happy-go-lucky, and they tend to have a more negative interpretation of things that are uncertain. But what we see in kids is that that's okay, right? That's like kind of normal, healthy response when you're young, but that you're supposed to learn to kind of see things in a different way and learn to see things more positively with time. And so, yeah, in older age, we do see that people typically have more positive bias. They tend to look on the bright side.
That sort of makes sense. Like if you're a little kid and a great big dog walks up, and if the dog isn't all happy and wagging his tail, it's just a dog that walks up, that can be that's a moment of uncertainty for a child. But as an adult, you have, I guess through experience, you can tell whether that dog is scary or not, or, take it. And so I guess your bias would be towards the positive, that dog isn't going to like you.
You learn how to cope and how to deal with things as you mature.
Right.
So absolutely.
So we're kind of in a big period of uncertainty right now with COVID, and everybody wearing masks, which would make it harder to, I guess, read people's faces and stuff. Are you finding that in your research too?
Yeah, we're exploring that a bit too. There's a lot of uncertainty about a lot of things right now. Is this pandemic ever going to completely end? What is life going to look like on the other side of it? But yeah, the impact of mask wearing has been really interesting, because you're expected to understand these like social nonverbal signals when you're missing half of the information. For some people that have been around in the world long enough, we may be better able to weather that. But I feel like that's something that might be particularly impactful for kids and for adolescents, where there's a lot of nonverbal signals happening and not enough, experience with how to cope with that,
Right. At least we, right now, we're not having to cover up our eyes. And so you can always do that smizing thing and try to raise your eyebrows and look, less scary, because I'm sure the mask thing is, it's disconcerting for all of us to,
absolutely.
But it's so important. So, I can imagine going forward for your lab and others that this period of time is really going to offer a lot of research opportunities, especially if you're talking about navigating uncertainty and how people structure their lives like that.
Yeah, we've been following a sample of adults, young to older adults over time since before the pandemic started, and just trying to see how are things like loneliness and social distancing and mask wearing, how are all of those things affecting the way we're relating to people, and how that impacts things like mental health and physical health.
Yeah. In the video, they talked about how when you were in middle school and high school, that your original goal was to be an artist, but you sort of shifted gears on that. Let's talk a little bit about that. I always think that's interesting how people land in a career, they go from one path to another. So how did you shift from wanting to be an artist to becoming a world-class psychologist?
Yeah, it's funny looking back, it all just made perfect sense. But I think, I had been doing art for so many years, and I just had a real passion for it. But I started to wonder if I could live on it, and if I would still really enjoy it if I had to do it to pay the bills. And I think as I started to question that, I thought, well, what else could I do? And neuroscience and psychology really jumped out as the only real option to me, because I felt like, what makes you drawn to a certain piece of art? Well, there's something happening in your mind, right, that makes you drawn to that makes you love it or not like it. And so I was really curious about these individual differences, like why are some people drawn to something and other people, they're looking at the same piece of art and they have a very different response.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So have you actually studied that? Or is what you're doing part of that, or how does that work?
Yeah. So early in my career, I did some research projects. This is some of the first MRI research that I did, where I showed people images and asked them if they liked them or not like them, and kind of looked at what's going on in their brain as they're making those kinds of decisions. It's sort of different from studying people's response to art, but it is how people respond to like visual, objects and scenes. And in that early work, I really looked at how everybody does it, right? Not so much the individual differences, but how does your brain, help to make those decisions? And then in grad school, I started to study things more like individual differences, like why are two people having very different responses to the same image? And that's very much what we still study in the context of uncertainty, that some people have positive responses whereas others are more negative.
So have you actually found the answer?
It's ongoing, but there are certainly a lot of different factors that shape how we cope with uncertainty and what makes us lean more positive or negative. Some of those things are in your brain, as you might expect. The different regions in your brain that become more active. A region called the amygdala seems to play a key role, and also how the brain regions are wired together and how they're communicating to one another that seems to be predictive of whether you tend to lean more positive or negative. But we're also exploring things like intergenerational transmission. Like, do we learn to have a bias from other people in our lives, like our parents? Is it kind of handed down to us in a way? So there's a lot of different factors, I think, that play an important role.
Yeah, I think that intergenerational transmission thing is, that's I don't want to say a hot field, but it is the whole idea of, inherited trauma and inherited, happiness. I suppose that's a thing. I think that's a really interesting and new way that we're starting to learn about just culture and how we're all kind of organized. And wow, sounds silly, but what a great time to be studying that, because you have all these new tools now that you can use to really just delve into that. And that's exciting to know that's happening at the University of Nebraska, because
very exciting.
Yeah, you just think like, wow, just Nebraska, and plus the whole thing that's in the stadium, I love that part too. So anyway, that's very cool. We are wrapping up. We are out of time. And thank you for being my guest today. I enjoyed talking with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about how your research goes in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I want to remind everybody that it's never too late to live and learn about how your brain works.
Vulnerable and senior adults might be living in silent fear of elder abuse and financial exploitation. We can do something about it. The Nebraska DHHS recommends that communities maintain and improve resources such as public transportation and senior centers to prevent social isolation. Engage professionals in various disciplines to find solutions to end elder abuse. Every year, June 15 is observed as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, an opportunity to ensure justice for all.
Hello, it's wonderful to have you join us today for a discussion on the new iServe Nebraska portal. I'm Barb Tyler, and I'm delighted to welcome Danette Smith, CEO for the Department of Health and Human Services for the state of Nebraska, who will talk to us about this new initiative project that will benefit Nebraska. CEO Smith, a new project or service such as iServe is a massive undertaking, especially statewide. What led to the need and the development of this new program?
Well, Barb, thank you so much for having me on today. And as you know, I have been just excited and ecstatic about the development of the new iServe project. Many of our staff and our community members, as we are engaging them in this process, know that this all came to be because we wanted Nebraskans to have a better access to services that are supported and delivered by the Department of Health and Human Services. And so I am so excited about this new platform called iServe Nebraska. It really is going to allow us to ensure that all Nebraskans across the state have the kind of access to our programs, benefits, and services, and that they will experience it in a more customer-friendly approach.
And this will replace Access Nebraska, is my understanding.
It absolutely will. We are excited that Access Nebraska has taken us this far, but it is also going to take the place of Access Nebraska. And Barb, here's the benefit to it. It's a one-stop shop. So when people get onto our platform, they will be able to actually do the application process. But most importantly, they'll be able to see all of the services that this department provides to Nebraskans in with a one-stop shop approach. So I'm very excited about it because most of the platforms that I've seen across the nation only allow for applying for one service. With this platform, you'll be able to see all of the services that are provided across all 5 divisions here with the Department of Health and Human Services. And again, as I said, it is very customer friendly.
This new technology is going to allow so many changes, and this integration, as we've talked about, with Medicaid and other economic assistance benefits. But it also allows for better time management, which is always needed, and better efficiency. So can you tell us a little bit more how this will help state teammates and the clients that they will serve?
Absolutely. One of the things, Barb, that I think excites all of us, including myself, my leadership team, and my frontline staff, is that we're approaching this from more of an integration perspective. In other words, the system is going to allow for us to determine benefit eligibility, enrollment. It is really going to give that customer focused feel where you'll be able to look at all of the programs, and it will give the state an opportunity to develop that customer relationship with both the state, but also with the various divisions that provide the programs. The other issue, or really strength to the platform, is that it is going to streamline our application process. It is going to be easy to fill out your application, gather information. And Barb, one of the things I really like about it is it has a lot of pictorials that go along with the application process. So it is really going to guide the public on how you need to apply for benefits, or just be interested in some of the programs that we offer here at the state. It is driven. It's driven to be kind of self-serve. You can come back and complete the application, and the pictorials will show you and direct you on how to complete those applications. And then finally, because it's in the new cloud, we are also able to ensure that people understand and apply appropriately for federal and state programs. So I'm very excited about it, Barb, because in all of the platforms I've seen in my career, you're only allowed to apply for one benefit and one service, and that's it. This platform will allow you to look at all of our services, all of our programs, and decide what you need to apply for. And then our staff then are able to provide good customer service and be able to tell you your eligibility, what you qualify for, because we'll have all of your information one time. And that's really good.
That's really good. Those clients, it saves them some time management as well. And then for the state teammates, the actual people taking the applications, I imagine that's going to benefit them time-wise as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we're facing right now in real time is the ability to take applications and be able to process it. Well, now that we'll have iServe will have that information. It will store that information, and all that our staff will need to do is to make sure that any of the programs and services that Nebraskans apply for, that they're actually eligible. So we will cut down on processing time, which I know will help us feel as though we're really being more customer driven and more customer focused. And it's very difficult when you're doing that. And many of the processes are, they're based on the computer, but some of our processes are still manual. One of the things about iServe is everything will be digital, and our staff will be able to process in real time. That's awesome. So when do you expect this program to be up and running? You've kind of said there was a lot of pictorials to it, but is there any other simulations to the public to better understand it? And I understand it must be very self-explanatory. So when are you looking for this to take place?
Yeah, so let me explain a little bit about what we did, Barb. We have made sure that not only have we looked at the system that we're currently designing, but we've gotten feedback from the community across Nebraska, as well as our providers, those persons who may work with people who would oftentimes need our services and programs. We've gotten their input. So we've made sure that the wording is easy for people to understand. We've also made sure that we have a variety of different languages because, as you know, Nebraska is becoming a melting pot. And so we want to be able to serve everybody in their language and also respect their culture. We are hoping to go live, and I shouldn't even use the word hope. We are going live in April of 2022. And we have all been working hard to make sure that we meet those deadlines. When I talk about the pictorial a little bit, it's only because I recognize that sometimes pictures guide people in how they think about what they're applying for. And so they'll be culturally and linguistically appropriate that really help people understand the services that the department provides, but also making sure that it's easy for them to gather the kind of information that they need to apply for our programs and services.
Well, that pictorial aspect I didn't realize, and I think that's a really vital aspect to this, because that I know it helps me when I'm going through instructions for myself. So I know the business plan was just announced not that long ago, and this iServe project was a vital part of this plan. And what other goals, just you as a CEO, what other goals for DHHS do you have in the coming year?
Well, you know, iServe is an integral part of the integration that I talked about when I first came to Nebraska back in February of 2019. It doesn't seem like I've been here that short period of time, but we announced a couple of things as goals for the department. The first one is developing an integrated service delivery system. And Barb, quite honestly, iServe is going to get me halfway there because it's a digital platform and it gives us an opportunity, or our customers, to look holistically at the services that the department provides. But being integrated means that the various divisions are now able to work across their various divisions to ensure that as we're providing those services from iServe Nebraska, it comes with an integrated approach and a one-stop, so that our customers have the opportunity to look at the plethora of programs that we have across the department and are able to choose what best meets their needs. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to make sure that we are using data as a way to guide our decisions. As you know, Barb, I'm big on using data. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing this year is really working with our chief data strategist, Ms. Ashley Newmeyer, to really look at what is our data telling us about the people that we should be serving here in Nebraska? How well are we? Are we meeting their needs? Are there program opportunities that we should be looking at that we're not? And so we're going to have data that's going to guide us. As you know, our chief data strategist has been heavily involved in public health. And so some of the things on the division end, we've had to kind of take a step back. But this year, we're going to be moving forward with looking at data, making sure that data is guiding us in the right direction in how we serve Nebraskans. And then the third one is really supporting our teammates in doing the work that we're asking them to do here in Nebraska. One of the things that I like about iServe is it is really going to help our teammates. It's going to focus initially on Medicaid, SNAP, and TANF benefits initially, but the goal is to start with our benefit programs first and then to expand out to various other programs throughout the department. I am very excited about it because this is going to help our teammates really look at how we serve the community more holistically. And then finally, ensuring that all of our teammates have the skills, the knowledge to really do the job and be a good servant to the people that we serve here in Nebraska. So those are kind of the 4 goals for the business plan. We're excited about it. Certainly people can contact you if they'd like a copy of the business plan. It's very detailed with detailed goals and opportunities, and just looking forward to getting iServe up and going. I've learned more about technology in this job than I probably ever thought I would.
Well, I understand that. That can be frustrating. It's a good and a bad thing, both. I know one of your goals has always been is to meet the clients where they're at.
Absolutely.
Being available to them instead of having them always come into a shop, if you will. So that's always nice. Any other goals besides that? Any other goals that we can talk about for the coming year, or maybe some highlights of what you have accomplished?
Well, I leave that to you to highlight. But one of the things I would say is that this department has been very, very involved in the community all across Nebraska, from our urban areas, Omaha and Lincoln, all the way to Scottsbluff. We want everybody in Nebraska to know that the Department of Health and Human Services is here to serve them. And so, as you know, Barb, I've been very visible, but so has my executive team. We've all been out in the community making sure that we have the pulse, the understanding of Nebraskans so that we can bring better services to the community.
Well, thank you, Danette. One thing I want to add too, and I think it'll be on the scroll, is the information you can go to right now on online. And let me give that address to the people at home. That is partners-dhhs.ne.gov/iserve/pages/home. And they can kind of see already what that program is going to look like. And they'll also have an email box as well for questions when this does come up into fruition. So Danette, I want to thank you so much for taking time today to talk about this new initiative. And remember, everybody, it's never too late to live and learn.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones with Aging Partners. Did you know that Lincoln expects a 75% increase in the number of seniors living in our community over the next 15 years? Aging Partners is a community service that provides fitness programs to help keep older adults strong and healthy. This year, Lincoln Cares donations are providing funds for new fitness equipment. You can help make this happen. Sign up to support Lincoln Cares and add $1 to your LES bill each month.
Welcome to Live and Learn. Do you have an urge to get on the road and get out and see some interesting and unique spots in Nebraska? If so, the Nebraska Passport Program can help you do that and be your guide. I'm Doug Jobst, and joining me today is Madison Johnson, who's the program coordinator for the Nebraska Passport Program. And welcome, Madison, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is with the Nebraska Passport Program.
So like you said, I am the Nebraska Passport Program coordinator. So I run this magnificent program of the Nebraska Passport. This is our booklet from 2021. So I'm just getting all of 2022 ready now. So my role is I pretty much organize the whole shebang. So I help pick the stops. I go through all of our applications that we get. I get to pick prizes. I get to send things out. I'm customer service. I get to go to the stops during the summer. I do a lot. So pretty much anything passport related, I'm your gal.
Well, let's talk about some of those aspects that you mentioned. Where do you find these interesting places?
So a lot of it is kind of just word of mouth. So like I said, I travel during the summer. So if I see something that I run across, I kind of mark that down as like, okay, I'm going to contact them and see if they want to apply for the program for next year. Otherwise, our participants are really wonderful in telling cool businesses in their communities to apply for the Nebraska Passport Program. So the application launches in September of each year, and it's completely free for anybody to apply and be a part of. So these businesses apply. We had about 320 some apply this year. So it's a lot of people who are super eager and excited to be on the program. And then I go through those lists, kind of find some commonalities and see where I can kind of create interesting ideas through the program and showcasing certain types of things, and then compile that list to 70 for each year. And then it does change every year as well. So you can apply each year, and then you may get on one year, you won't get on the following year, and so on and so forth. So if you did the program in 2021, you're going to get a whole new list of places to visit in 2022. So that makes it really fun for me because I get to visit all these places as well. But yeah, a lot of it is just word of mouth or people being excited about the program. And so they tell their friends, and then their friends tell their friends, and etc.
The goal is for people to see a broader aspect of Nebraska, but what are some of the other goals for the program?
So, primarily we are we want to drive Nebraska tourism, right? So that's what our whole office does. So in-state travel is really huge in Nebraska. We have a lot of passionate residents and people who live even on the boundaries of Nebraska. So people who live in Iowa or Kansas, Colorado, South Dakota, all those places. So really the goal is to just have people visit their communities. So there's lots of awesome places to visit throughout the state that a lot of people haven't been to. I love to make people who live in Omaha go to Scottsbluff, and from people from Scottsbluff to drive to Omaha. I think that's so fun. I think it's good to connect the two sides of our state, as sometimes people don't get to do that as often as they'd like, or maybe they don't have a reason to. Not everyone has a reason to drive 4 or 5 hours in different directions, but I love being able to put the passport in their hands and go, hey, here are some really wonderful places to visit, and not just go to Scottsbluff to see those places, but places to visit along the way as well.
You mentioned 70 places. Is that a typical number that you have in the passport each year?
Yes. So as of, I believe 2018 was the first year that we've kind of solidified 70 as the magic number. It really just offers a great variety of things. We can have every section of this state be included. So even if you live in McCook, or if you live in south of Yankton, or you could live in Valentine, or you could live in Lincoln, you can participate just as much as anyone else. So that's what's really special, is you can really be in any part of the state, and you're probably within about an hour, maybe, of several passport stops. So
how many people usually participate with the passport?
So each year we print about 55,000 passport booklets.
Oh, wow.
So that's these guys right here. And the end of last year, all of them were gone. So we say that about that many people participate in the program each year. It's pretty crazy. But for last year, the number of people that went to all 70 was 1,322 people. So that many people across Nebraska went to all 70 stops. So that number grows each year by about 150 to 200 people. So next year, I'm expecting it to be in the 1,500 range, which is really awesome. It's fun to see the program just grow. And so participation is kind of hard to track, because if you just grab a booklet, you could go to a handful of stops and you don't qualify for any of the prizes that we do offer. Or maybe you're not interested in the prizes and you just love to be participating in the program. So give or take.
Let's talk about those prizes. So if you fill up your passport, you're eligible for a prize?
So there are different prize levels. So if you go to 10 passport stops, you get prizes, and then 25, 50, and then all 70. So depending on how many you go to, you can fit within one of those ranges, and they are cumulative. So if you go to 70, you get all the prize levels below. So this year for 70 stop winners, you got a passport t-shirt, which I'm wearing right now. You get a picnic blanket. You got a little canvas bag. You get our Visit Nebraska calendar. And then Nebraska Lottery is one of our sponsors, and they give out these free $5 scratch ticket coupons for each of our participants. So you got $50 worth of those if you went to all 70 this year. And then if you got 10, you got 1 coupon. So depending on how much you participate, your prizes will vary, but they will change each year. So our prizes for 2022 will be a little different from this year, but that's kind of fun too, because then you can get something new each year as well.
So when you go to one of these stops, is it just a simple matter of getting a stamp in your passport book, or what's involved in getting those stamps?
Yes. So when you walk into a business or a destination, you just say like, hi, I'm here for the passport, and you hand them their booklet and they'll just stamp it for you. It is completely free to participate in this program. So you don't need to pay any money to get a booklet, and you don't need to pay any money to get a stamp. Now, we do want to encourage people to tour the museums or buy dinner or buy some retail merchandise at these stores, but it's not required to participate in the program. So really you can spend as much or as little as you'd like to or are able to. So that's really fun. And then there's also a passport app that you can use as well. So if you like to use technology and you want to use the passport app to get digital stamps, you can do that too. So there's several ways to participate in the program. And even if you just want to use the booklet, which a lot of people do, they love being able to walk in and go, hey, I'm here, please stamp my booklet for me. So it's fun to have that physical aspect of it as well.
So how do we get the booklets?
So there are several ways to get a booklet. Yes. So there are several ways to get a booklet. So They usually become available about mid to late April. The program kicks off May 1st and lasts through September 30th of each year. So this year, if you want to go and get a booklet for 2022, right now you can go on our website of nebraskapassport.com and put your name and address in there and request as many as you'd like. So say you are someone who's got friends and family that you'd love to do the program with, you can go on and request 4 or 5 booklets to give out to friends or however many you're comfortable with getting. Otherwise, once the program begins, we'll release our list of who's on the passport this year. You can just stop at one of those stops and they'll have a collection of booklets there for you, so you can pick them up that way too.
So when a family applies for a booklet, is it common that, say, a number of members of the family, all of them get a booklet, or is it just one per family?
Yes. So we want every single person who participates to have their own booklet. So even if, husband, wife, or their kiddos or their grandkids, each person should have their own booklet, so that way they can get their prizes. So it's fun for each person to kind of be able to flip through their booklet, make notes on which stop they like best and why, and all that kind of stuff. So yes, so you are more than welcome to each person have their own booklet and request some to give to family and friends and all that good stuff. We love that the program is something that people do to kind of connect with their close relations and things. So it's definitely encouraged.
So then after the end of September, people submit their passports to you to get the prizes?
Yes. So there is a prize entry sheet in the back of the booklet right here, that this is what people will stamp and send in to me at the end of the season in order to redeem for their prizes. So you get to keep your booklet, so you don't have to get rid of this. You can keep it in your car year after year and visit some favorite places. And then you send that in to me at the end of the season, and then I will send you prizes towards the end of the year, beginning of January of each year, because it takes a bit for us to get things in. But so it's pretty much as simple as it is. You just get a booklet, collect stamps, turn in your sheet, and then we send you prizes.
From the feedback that you get from people, do you have some of your favorite anecdotes that people have related to you, their experiences with the Passport book?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, we get a ton of awesome stories and things from participants and stops in general. We have a section on our website where people can share their stories about the Passport. So I get stories ranging from, I do this every year with my grandkids, and it's really a great way for us to spend time together, and they get to learn about Nebraska history and tourism in our state and various different things. Or even from stops themselves. I had a gentleman say that the Passport booklet for this year, saved his business. It was able to keep his doors open and able to keep his staff through the pandemic. So there's just a lot of really, really positive things that this program does. I like to say it's just a program that makes people happy. So I just get to make people happy for a living, and it's wonderful. But yeah, I mean, there's so many. I don't know. There's a woman who is 98, and she's done the program every year since I think 2014, and she sends me pictures, and she's always writing, this is her name and how many stops she's done. And it's just really fun. I kind of keep tabs on people too, because it makes me smile, just people who do it every year and people who really love the program. So, I mean, it's really for all ages. I think the youngest person I had complete 70 stops this year was about 6 months old. And then the oldest person I had was 99. So it's pretty incredible.
Madison, let's review quickly how you get the Passport and when they'll be available for 2022.
Yeah, so in order to get your 2022 Passport, you can either go to our website, nebraskapassport.com, and request one, or once the program kicks off on May 1st, you can just stop by any of those Passport stops and they will be able to give them out to you, and you can get your first stamp and get going.
Madison, thanks a lot. This is very interesting, and I think people will be anxious to get out after the pandemic situation and explore around the state. So this is a good way to guide your travels around the state. So thanks a lot for sharing this with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Remember, it's never too late to live and learn about unique places in Nebraska to visit.